track bike project. As you can see, a lot has changed since my last video. I have been posting some still photos to a couple of forums just because I seem to get a bit more feedback in the form of suggestions or affirmation and encouragement than these YouTube videos. But again, I jump started again doing this. A fella on Facebook had come across the first video. He did a similar project. He's out on the East Coast of the United States, has been super helpful and made some suggestions as to how to proceed. So anyway, I thought I'd just do a quick front to back or back to front video of where things are at, again in my poorly lit garage with my old GoPro. So you know, seems to work anyway. So as you can see where we're at, the bike is up on its feet. I was able to source some wheels for it. I've got the shock mounted. So as I said, I'll maybe just go from front to back and show you guys where things are at. So I am going to go with sort of the whole retro vibe, not worry about a full front fairing or anything like that. I'd thought about putting handlebars on versus clip-ons, but the end result is trying to get a top triple clamp that will work with these forks, etc., etc. I thought just for the cost savings, I'll go with just the triple clamp and forks that I got on Facebook Marketplace out of Winnipeg for, you know, a really good, everything's a really good price, right? And then of course, you know, if the bike does go down, it's easier to replace a single clip-on tube than a set of handlebars. So I've got my old well-worn, beaten up front number plate here, temporarily mounted. I am going to buy myself a new one because they cost about 20 bucks from Meyer Manufacturing, and this one has a lot of holes in it. So I'd like to highlight again, I don't know how well this is going to pick up on this video, but just the beautiful welding work that someone with some experience and a TIG welder can do. So I fabricated this front mount with some captured nuts in it, and this is going to hold the steering damper. This is a Sprint steering damper that I was able to pick up for a good price. It does need to be rebuilt, so it's just going to be sort of mocked up and in this location for now. But you can see how beautiful these beads are here, certainly. And I just can't seem to get thick metal like this hot enough with the acetylene torch and not burn away this thinner stuff. So that's the joy of you know, having a TIG welder. I did spend some time fabricating this front bracket mount. So based on some prior experience in working with these older Ducatis and their wiring harness and that sort of thing, I'm going to simplify things. So I did rebuild the harness, stripped it down, and really simplified it. That's inside because it's way more fun working on electrical harnesses inside than outside. So just a simple 20 amp rocker switch, which will be the main fused switch. There'll be the Ducati right hand handlebar starter switch. I'm going to put a little Moose or KNS rocker switch on this side so I can directly wire the tachometer to the battery. So I've got a Coso dash that I fitted in here. They're currently on sale, Coso North America, which is out of Quebec. It's just I think it's an $8,000 or $9,000 RPM tachometer with an accessory temperature gauge, which I'll wire down to the oil. There's an oil strainer that has a temperature sensor that I can replace for a digital one. I'll keep track of the oil temps. These two lights here, one will be wired to the neutral, which I think is blue, and then this is either red or orange, one of the two, and that'll be my oil pressure gauge. So super simple. You know, it's going to be a simplified stripped down wiring harness. So yeah, I talked about the steering damper, forks. So yeah, these are 0304 ZX6R forks. Really oddball choice, I realize. Limits some. Well, it doesn't limit anything, but it's an odd choice, and it was simply because I got the forks, the triples, and the brake rotors and the brake calipers for super cheap. So it's meant that finding some of the replacement pieces that I need, like the brace for the fender, they're no longer made, so I'll have to find a used one, and of course I've got a right one and I needed a left one, or I've got a left one and I needed a right one, I might end up buying both. So front wheel ZX6R, got that from Japan. I'm not going to tell you where because I don't want to let anyone try to steal the awesome parts I can find. Actually, I shouldn't say that. It's from a online, it's like Yahoo Japan, also known as Buy, B-U-Y-E-E. Maybe there's 3 E's. Some limitations on what they're willing to ship overseas, but some hard parts like wheels and that sort of thing, they will ship. They won't ship fuel tanks, they won't ship carburetors, which makes me weep, and they won't ship shocks as well. So so that's the S2R engine. Got the tank off eBay United States. Interior is in good shape. Oddly enough though, the bottom had a hole drilled in it for no reasonable reason I can find, so I was able to patch that. But I think what I'll do is I'll let my welding guru, and I'll show more of his amazing work, Brent at Ironcraft. I think I'll just simply, fabricate a steel patch over this hole, and the low part of the tank is right about here. So we'll either weld in an NTP bung and put on a 5/16 barbed fitting, and then a 1-into-2 splitter or something similar. So you can kind of see in there that inside of that tank still looks in great shape. No nasty rust forming or anything like that. Have to buy some bushings here. That's Ducati OEM stuff to help the tank sit in the frame properly, but I had thought about building my own aluminum tank. There's a place out of France, I think, called Bad Winners that makes an aluminum tank with a carbon fiber cover, but I can guarantee you this was substantially cheaper. So speaking of cheaping out, Chinese carburetors. So a fellow that I've connected with online out of the UK, Tony Lloyd, recommended giving these a try. He's fitted them to at least 4 or 5 of his Ducati builds, even a Buell I think that he did. Seem to be working well. You do need to swap out the needle in one of these carbs, both of these carbs, for a special EMS needle is what he recommends. So got this fitted. So this is a intake manifold from a fuel injected air-cooled Super Sport. I did move this bracket here to hold the throttle cable. Was normally oriented in this direction. It would have meant a really like over 90-degree turn of the cable. So what I did is I just drilled it out here, and it was sort of riveted on there, so I was able to drill the rivets down. Didn't even have to go all the way through this bracket. Of course, I took this bracket off the carburetor itself, and then just pulled up my 00 acetylene tip and tack welded that in place. And I wouldn't say tack welded, I welded that in place. That's not going to go anywhere. So this way I can use almost a straight cable or a cable with a very gentle bend that'll go up to the throttle. So there's one there. I'll maybe flip around to the other side really quick. The other carburetor you can see in there, but you've got some cut up manifolds here. So the thing is that when you use split carburetors on a V-twin Ducati, one of the carburetors is considered a downdraft carburetor. So the float bowl is specially made, and it allows the carburetor to basically be sitting almost, would that be 90 degrees or perpendicular to the horizontal head. So what some guys have done, Tony Lloyd included, is they've welded up or modified stock manifolds and oriented the carb in a more horizontal direction. So because Brent did such amazing work on the steel of this frame, I've given him some cut up manifold pieces that I've cut and welded. This was version 1. I've got a version 2 that I'm going to try, that I've given to him, and he's going to try to weld them together, and then I'll be able to mount that second carb. It is going to be tipped up slightly, but I think only by between 15 and 20 degrees, and I've seen some other Ducatis online that I swear are running these Chinese carbs just because of how they look, that have their carburetors tipped in that orientation. Certainly there comes a point where if you've got the carburetors tipped too much, you're going to have cylinder flooding and fuel delivery and float ball problems. But to me, considering how it's basically impossible to find key-in split flat slide carburetors, it's not a bad choice. It's not a bad attempt to try to sort that issue. If this fails miserably, and I hope it doesn't, but it might, and usually you learn these things the hard way. I've got another potential idea in the back of my mind that that might help out my fueling problem. It does involve constant velocity carburetors, which aren't as trick as flat slides, but they still might work. That's my backup plan. So anyway, hopefully Brent can help me out and weld these things together. This is a casting, which can make welding difficult, but based on me cutting it in half, it doesn't seem very porous. So hopefully he can weld that. So he is a genius. I tell him that every time I see him. In terms of the ignition system, I am going to run an Ignitec system out of Czechoslovakia, but I'm going to order it from Liam at Fast Bikes Gear out of New Zealand. Kind of seems counterintuitive to buy something from Europe, get it shipped to New Zealand, and then shipped up to Canada. But I'm kind of doing an all-in package, in that he's had tremendous experience working on these Ignitec systems, particularly converting fuel-injected Ducatis to carbs. And I'm going to get some coils, some spark plug leads, a few other things from it, sort of an all-in-one package that I know everything works. If you guys have tried to mix and match, bike doesn't run very well because they've used the wrong spark plug caps or coils or something like that. So my plan is I'm going to mount the coils up here, sort of splayed in each end, so they're tucked up out of the way underneath the tank, and then pick up on these two mounts here to mount the coils. So there's just this little rubber bushing will help a bit with some vibration and tuck it up there. Not 100% sure where I'll put the Ignitec module. I think I might stick it here. And then things like the starter solenoid. I think I've got room to mount it right about here. But yeah, it's one of these things where I'm now at the point where I have to have a lot of the parts in, even for the dry build, or just measuring things out, because you make one mistake and suddenly you're cutting your wires, you cut them and they're still too short. So that's the front end. Again, some more welding loveliness here. Brent did finish off the shock mount. I used my maths and the information I gleaned from Tony Foll's chassis book about swing arm angle and that sort of thing. The shock I'll likely use, unless I find a nicely rebuilt OEM shock with like a Racetech kit in it. It will be adjustable for length, so I can adjust that swing arm angle a bit as well. But I've set it up for 335 millimeter lengths, and shock is rebound compression damping is all wound off because it bounces, but the spring rate is also reduced slightly, significantly, so you can see that it moves freely. This is the welding I did here, so I'm happy with how the welding looks. Again, it's been a while since I've done some welding, so it seems to be good. These are Sato rear sets. Got them from my Japanese supplier as well. We'll need a new rear master cylinder Brembo, simply because of how the brake hose needs to be oriented to go back to the rear brake caliper. I have bought another Chinese rear brake caliper. I know people will shudder and tell me I'm an idiot, but I never use the rear brake anyway. Other guys have used them with some success. It's basically to pass safety inspections. I don't know. I might use it if I ever go off-roading the track, but it seems fine. That's come in. I'll mock that up when the time comes to get the right length of brake hoses fitted. My fancy SSIEDS swing arm. I will get Brent again to weld some bosses to put some swing arm bobbins on there. Yeah, so I talked about the tank. I am going to go with a Hot Bodies tail section. They have one for the Scrambler. It's kind of neat looking. It has a little shrouds here that gives it a bit of to me, a bit of a dirt tracker look to it. I have been told that it's kind of a heavy tail, and we know that Ducatis don't need any more weight over the rear end just simply because of the nature of the engine, but it'll be what it'll be. Unfortunately, Mr. Trump's tariff announcement yesterday might make that more expensive to import. I don't know, but I won't start talking politics on a YouTube page about motorcycles. So that's currently being built by the people at Hot Bodies and will be shipped out in a couple of weeks. Let's see, anything around to this side here? Nothing yet. So yeah, the interesting thing is that if I do go with an OEM shock, and these aren't terrible shocks, they can be rebuilt and smartened up. Everything clears here, so that's kind of nice. You know, some of these rear subframes and how they're oriented, on occasion, you know, this fouls on a frame tube or something like that. So it is a bit tight towards the rear end of the bike, and that's why the Hot Bodies tail section does have like a hump here that sits on this frame rail so that the seat is up high enough. So it might be a bit tight. I was hoping to fit the regulator rectifier around here somewhere, but you know, there's just not enough room, I don't think, clearance wise. I might be able to find a spot for it, but you know, the idea of making a tray or, you know, making some sort of bracket for it to fit there, I might still be able to find a solution. But again, I kind of need all the parts here so I can kind of test fit things and figure out where I can move things and make them work appropriately. So yeah, the big question now, this is version 2 of the battery box. The first one sat below here, and as you can tell, it was going to foul on the rear wheel. So me being the smarty pants that I am, I'm going to put it up here, which again still comes pretty close to the rear wheel on full compression. But I am likely going to have to use these rear bosses here that I'm really glad I welded some M12 nuts in here, because I think this is going to be part of the mount for the rear exhaust. So where do I start? I guess I'll just say I have a pile of different headers for various Ducatis, 900 SS. I've got one for 659. I've got one for an 800 SS. There's some that have like 36 millimeter header pipes. There's some that are 40, and of course bigger is better when you're looking at performance. Anyway, I collected these over the years thinking I might need them for a project, and okay, here's the project that I could use some of these header pipes on, and they're just not going to work. The traditional, in terms of what I have, the traditional 2-into-2 exhaust OEM header, which flows well and makes good power, the ones I have foul on the swing arm. They were probably designed for a monster or something with a swing arm that didn't splay out so much. And plus it's a bit heavy, and by no means is this bike going to be a lightweight, because there's some heavier parts on here I've noticed, including, you know, things like the tank and that rear wheel and that sort of thing. I did have a 2-into-1 header that I took a chance on eBay. Guy didn't really know much about it. It was sitting in his garage, and unfortunately I got taken on that one because it doesn't fit anything. It doesn't fit the 600/680. It doesn't fit this 800. I don't think it'll fit a 900 either. So that's sitting in a Rubbermaid full of exhaust parts. I don't think I'll be able to use that. So even though this is an 800 and has a slightly shorter stroke, again on my Japanese website, someone was selling a set of headers for a DB4 Bimota, which runs a 900 engine, but it's a 2-into-1 normally, but then the OEM exhaust is a 2-into-1 and then splits off into 2 shotgun style exhausts. And the problem is that, you know, this exhaust will extend out fairly far back, and you know, I want to kind of have the exhaust a bit more centralized, so I don't have more weight over, I don't know if your camera can see this, over the rear end of the bike. So the idea is that again, I got this, you know, it was under $200 Canadian for a DB4 Bimota header and muffler system. The 2-into-1 collector is the key piece. So I'll either modify the two OEM shotgun exhausts, shorten them, lighten them, and then run them here. Remove those two exhausts, mount something else again that might be lighter, 2-into-1 style, maybe some mufflers from Cone Engineering, which I've used with a lot of success in the past, or simply cut off the exhaust system after the 2-into-1 collector and then run a single lightweight exhaust out the back, and then, you know, use this area as a mounting point for some sort of exhaust bracket. So anyway, that's again, being the nerd that I am, pretty exciting possibility, pretty exciting potential solution to this exhaust system. So because this is a shorter stroke engine, what I hope to do, and this I might be ruining this solution because it might not be a solution, is that for both the rear cylinder and the front horizontal cylinder, I'm going to find a straight section of exhaust, cut it, flare it slightly so that it slides over the section of exhaust, and that way I'll be able to shorten it the amount that I need to. And once I have it oriented, because I don't know how much I need to shorten it, like it's probably millimeters, but millimeters make a difference. Shorten that slightly towards the front, shorten this slightly to the back, so it compensates for the shorter stroke of the engine, and then you know, tack it in place, orient it the rear exhaust, and then get the whole thing properly welded, because it'll be stainless steel by Brent again at Ironcraft. So that's the idea in theory. It could be a tremendous failure. We shall see, but I think it should work. But I've thought a lot of things would work in the past that haven't. So cross fingers. We'll see if it will work the way it should. So anyway, that's the update for now. Yeah, kind of in the process of waiting for some parts to come in. Hopefully Brent's able to build me that manifold here, and I can proceed with the next steps of that build. So anyway, this short video ended up being over 20 minutes. So anyway, and of course I don't put my face on these videos because I'm having a bad hair day. So anyway, I can't compare it to some of the other motorcycle videos out there, but hopefully you enjoyed this. Like and subscribe. I'll do some more frequent updates, and you can probably hunt down pictures of this project on some of the motorcycle forums. I'll maybe put some of the links in the descriptor when I upload this video. Anyway, thanks for watching. Stay warm and check back soon.